You'll just follow along with the PowerPoint. Okay, now I need to get the PowerPoint. La 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 la. Share screen. Okay. Okay, can everybody see this? I'm hoping. Okay. So Harbor House, our mission is to serve all people impacted by domestic abuse, lead the shift in perception of violence, and advocate for lasting social change. Our vision is a community without domestic abuse. Kind of a timeline of Harbor House. In 1984, Harbor House opened. And it opened as an 8-bed shelter on Elm Street in Appleton. The homeless center and DV shelter were right next door to each other. In 1989, Harbor House moved to a 20-bed facility in Grand Chute. It was a duplex, and they used both sides of the duplex. In 1998, we opened an office in Chilton and had a full-time advocate there. We'll talk a little bit more about the Chilton office, but they do basically the same things as we do at Harbor House, just not having a shelter. In 2001, Harbor House moved to its current location as a 32-bed facility. It's the old Peabody Manor and nursing home. In 2005, we opened Ethel's Wing, which was our second floor, making it a 44-bed facility. Ethel's Wing was for singles. And so there was a singles floor and then a family floor. In 2008, we had a partnership with the Housing Authority, and they allowed us to rent for 1 penny the apartments next door to us. There are 6 apartments next door. And those were for transitional housing for our clients. After they had stayed at Harbor House, they could stay for 18 to 24 months in transitional housing there. And now rent is income-based. History continued. In 2011, we were completely over capacity constantly. So we renovated again and became a 55-bed shelter. In 2017, we had a groundbreaking capital campaign of $4 million to remodel and build on. And in 2019, we finished with the shelter as it is today, with a 68-bed shelter with an advocacy center and wellness wing. It's the largest standalone domestic violence program in the state. There's a 56-bed shelter in Madison, but we are the biggest in the state. So Harbor House program. So most people think we're only a shelter, but we have a lot more services than that. All of our services are free. We have individual, for children and youth programming, we have individual and group counseling. We have support groups. We have advocacy, educational arrangements. So sometimes there's kids that come from different areas of the city or state or areas, you know, beyond that. And they need to put their kids in school. And so we work with local schools to figure out all the educational arrangements there and busing and things like that. Prevention education, we have someone that goes into schools and talks about teen dating violence and healthy relationships and friendships and bullying. And so they'll go into schools and do that. We have structured play activities. So bedtime stories, twice a week. We have trauma-informed yoga, art activities. We have a lot of summer programming. And then childcare. In childcare, the kids get time to just be kids. That's really important for a lot of our kids that have grown up with domestic violence, that they don't always get to be kids at home. So adults get to be supported in having their kids in childcare and then being able to have some respite time for themselves. So. Oh, and my PowerPoint has stopped. Oh, okay. There we go. Okay, so our adult program is crisis counseling, safety planning, goal setting, support groups, education, networking, life skills. Life skills, like in support group, we'll do once a month. We'll focus on how to do certain life skills like laundry or finances, cleaning, things like that. Legal advocacy, we have 2 legal advocates that help out with our women going through court proceedings and restraining orders and custody, things like that. We have culturally specific advocacy. So we have a Black outreach advocate, a Hmong outreach advocate, and a Latinx outreach advocate, as well as a Native Indigenous advocate as well. And then we do referrals to other programs as well and work closely with others in the community like AODA and mental health and things like that. Our shelter program. So our shelter program has a 24-hour crisis line. We are staffed in the house 24 hours a day. We get every arrest call in Calumet and Outagamie County, so we can reach out and notify the victim and offer services. We also get information to the general public. We have 68 beds. It's within 33 rooms. And our second floor is singles rooms. They're kind of like a dorm room with 1 bed in it, and then 2 rooms share a bathroom. And then our third floor is family rooms, and those have multiple beds in it and have an ensuite bathroom. So that's kind of how that works. Food, linens, personal care, clothing, all of that is provided for our residents. And then a sense of community. We have an intervention program. So the program is court ordered, but most of the offenders in the program are court ordered, but they don't have to be. We work with the criminal justice system to promote accountability and safety. We have women and men support group every week as well for offenders. And a lot of people ask is, you know, like, how does that program work? Is it any better at, you know, does it teach offenders like how to get, like to be better? And the answer is, I mean, it's really hard to judge that. Sometimes the abuse lessens, sometimes the abuser just gets better at hiding the abuse, but for the most part, it's better when like mom is in victim services, dad is in offender or our intervention program, and children are in our child and youth program. So the whole family is getting like a wraparound service. And so that's kind of how that works. Our Calumet County outreach program is in Chilton. We have a toll-free crisis number out there as well. And we have an advocate, Stephanie, who's out in Chilton. She does individual counseling, does a lot of advocacy work, works with the rural families on access and privacy, and then does community education work out there as well. So pretty much the same thing, just not a shelter out there. And then our community education and volunteer program. We have front desk crisis line, childcare. I know you guys kind of know all of this already, but board of directors, special projects, St. Joe's food pantry, donations assistance. This isn't an extensive list, but some of the most requested things. So if you have a passion for something, let me know and we'll make it happen. So if you want to do an art project with the kids, or you want to do hair and makeup tutorials, or you want to do massage therapy or trauma-informed yoga, let me know and we will try to make it happen. Our community education program goes out to service clubs, community organizations, the media, things like that, and it teaches about domestic violence. And then she does trainings for professionals as well. So she trains nurses, doctors, police officers, other social workers, hairstylist professionals, because they see a lot of stuff as in a hair salon, actually. And then other just office people on domestic violence in the workplace. Any questions about Harbor House's services before we move on? Okay, so let's talk about domestic violence. So sit back and kind of take a check of yourself. What are your preconceptions of domestic violence? Do you know someone who's in a domestic violence situation? Our experiences really matter. And if we don't understand something, we judge it. We judge and we say, why did she stay? Why didn't she leave? Why didn't she go back? So it's all put on the victim and why she didn't do something rather than on the crime of the domestic violence from the abuser. The definition of abuse is a systemic pattern of behavior in a relationship that's used to gain or maintain power and control over another. Types and tools of abuse are emotional, psychological, sexual, physical. Tools are financial, cyber, and tech. It's huge right now. Everyone has a phone, right? Which can be used as a GPS tracker. It can be used as a listening device. It's a way for the abuser to track the victim, where children and listen in on their conversations. So very huge right now. Verbal abuse, and then spiritual cultural abuse. Domestic violence is not about anger. It's not about alcohol or drugs. It's not about mental illness. It's not because of stress. It's not because the victim did anything to cause it. It's not for better or for worse. It's about power and control. So there is this thing called the power and control wheel, and we use it with our women every day, going over the different types of abuse and things to kind of look for. I know this is really small on your screen, so I will read some of it off. We'll start at the top right corner-ish area in the circle. So using intimidation. So making you, oh, now I can't read it, hold on. Making you afraid by using looks, gestures, and actions, smashing things, displaying weapons, using looks, actions, and gestures to reinforce control. It's basically instilling fear in you. Using emotional abuse, so putting you down, making you feel bad about yourself, calling you names, making you feel guilty, humiliating you, swearing at you, yelling, screaming, those are all types of emotional abuse. Using isolation, We will talk more about isolation later on, but controlling what you do, who you see and talk to, limiting your outside activities, making you account for your whereabouts. In isolation, they don't directly say like you can't go somewhere, but it's creating chaos so you choose not to go. Denying, minimizing, and blaming, so making light of the abuse, saying it didn't happen, shifting responsibility, saying it's your fault, you deserved it, accusing you of making them abuse you. So something like if the abuser hits you, saying that it's because you did something to make him do that, right? Using children, so making you feel guilty about the children, using children to relay messages, threatening to take the children, threatening to tell your ex or the authorities to take your children, trying to destroy the relationship with your children, picking dad over mom, things like that. Using privilege, so treating you like a servant, making all the big decisions, knowing what's best for you, thinking I'm better than you, and if I don't think something's a big deal, like calling you names, then it isn't. Using economic abuse, so preventing you from getting or keeping a job, making you ask for money, interfering with work or education, and taking your credit cards. 75% of female victims who disclose abuse say they're harassed at their workplace, and then 60% of them are forced to quit or lose their jobs because of that. Those are huge numbers of economic abuse and harassment at work. So, and then lastly, using coercion and threats. So making and carry out threats to do something to harm you, threatening to leave or commit suicide, and stalking. The top 3 threats you hear over and over are, I'll do something to you, I'll kill myself, or I'm taking the kids. So those are the things we hear over and over. Unique risks of violence. So on average, nearly 20 people per minute are physically abused by an intimate partner in the US. During 1 year, this equals more than 10 million women and men. 1 in 3 women and 1 in 9 men experience severe intimate partner physical violence, intimate partner sexual violence, and intimate partner stalking. 1 in 7 women and 1 in 18 men have been stalked by an intimate partner during their lifetime, to the point which they felt very fearful or believed that they or someone close to them would be harmed or killed. 1 in 5 women and 1 in 71 men in the US has been raped in their lifetime. 1 in 15 children are exposed to intimate partner violence each year. 90% of the children are eyewitnesses to the violence. Nearly 21% of female high school students and 13% of male high school students report being physically or sexually abused by a dating partner. 57% of teens know someone who's been physically, sexually, or verbally abused in a dating relationship. Intimate partner violence is most common against women between the ages of 18 and 24. And then 76% of physical abuse towards older adults is perpetrated by a family member, 57% by an intimate partner. So indicators of abuse. The victim survivor mentions not being able to use the telephone, or she won't put numbers in her phone or won't talk on the phone if he's around, things like that. The victim survivor is forbidden from seeing friends unless the abuser is along. The person using abusive behaviors has exclusive control over all the money and household financial matters. The victim survivor is not involved in the decision-making process at home. And the person using abusive behaviors won't let the victim learn to drive, go to school, or get a job. So signs of an abusive personality. So jealousy, controlling behavior, quick involvement, unrealistic expectations, isolation, blaming others for their feelings, blaming others for their problems, and hypersensitivity. So I said we'd talk a little bit more about isolation. So I'm going to kind of give a scenario. So pretend that Lucky and I are in a relationship. And so everything's going great until we go out one night and we decide to meet Lucky's friends. So we're going out, we have a great time, and we meet Lucky's friend Aurora. So at some point in the night, I go off on Lucky because of Aurora. And I say, Aurora is the problem. Everything was perfect until you brought Aurora along. So the next time you want to go out with your friends, you don't bring Aurora along, right? I say, you know, you're so flirty with her, you don't pay me attention, you are only interested in all the other guys at the bar. Like, you know, Aurora's the problem. We're good. We don't have problems, but Aurora's the problem. So next time you go out, you don't invite Aurora, right? So things are going well again. And then we go out and meet another friend. So we go out and we meet Jasmine. So again, this happens that things are going well, and then we meet Jasmine. Jasmine's the problem. You act like such a different person around her. And so the next time you go out, you don't invite Aurora or Jasmine. So one by one, all those friends in Lucky's life are going away, right? And so then I'll start off on her family members. So I'll say, you want to go eat with your dad? What do you mean? I want to eat too. Stop being such a daddy's girl. And so next time you want to do something, you don't invite your dad. And so I would take out each family member one by one, just like that. And so then once you've established that isolation, that power and control wheel becomes so much easier to use, right? So all of the threats, all of the swearing, all of the emotional abuse, all of the putting her down, all of that is just easy because there's no one there to balance the opinion anymore, right? There's not mom or dad, there's not the friends, there's no one to say, no, you're not stupid, you're not ugly, you're whatever. It's just me and her, right? And so I'm constantly making her choose me over other people. Does that make sense with isolation? You can unmute yourself if you need to. Okay, I'm hoping that makes sense.
Makes sense.
Okay, great. So cycle of violence. So the cycle of violence is also something that we use with each victim survivor that comes into Harbor House. We talk about the cycle and where they're at in the cycle and how this all works. So first you're going to start out, so think about, the beginning of a relationship. So you start out and you're in this bubble and you have tunnel vision and all you think about is them, right? So you're making these happy, good memories. You take a walk on the beach together, you have a picnic, you go to the movies, you visit family, you do these happy, good things that create these good memories for you. So all of a sudden, he starts making observations. So you stay at a dead-end job. You could do better, but that whatever. And you really like shoes. They're everywhere, but that's fine. And on weekends, you like to hang out in sweats and watch TV. And, we could be doing more fun things, but that's fine. You want to just hang out. That's cool too. And so one day he comes home and there's a cup on the counter. And all of a sudden it's, look at this. There's this cup on the counter. All it would have taken you is 2 seconds to put it away and clean up. But you're so lazy, you have a dead-end job, you have too many shoes, you just sit around in your sweats all day and waste your money on things, and all it would have taken you is 2 seconds to fix this. So he yells at you, and then he says, I'm so sorry, I'm so sorry. It'll never happen again. I had a problem with my boss today. Can you forgive me? And you look at those happy, good memories that you've had together, like taking a walk on the beach and that kind of stuff. And so, although him yelling at you was bad, it doesn't erase the good memories, right? So you forgive him. So then from that point on, the cups are always put away. But one day he trips on one of your shoes. And so it's your stupid shoes that are everywhere, and you're just a waste of space. You waste your money. You're always so lazy. You can't even pick up your damn shoes. You're lazy. You're worthless. You're good for nothing. You're a horrible person, right? And then he says, I'm so sorry. My mom called today, and you know how his mom is. And so he says, I was going to take you out to your favorite restaurant. We'd be there right now having a good time. But you know how my mom is, and I'm so sorry, please forgive me. And you do, because you remember other good times together. So then you start really owning the issue, because you've heard it so many times, and you think, I am lazy, I am worthless, I do waste my money, I do have a dead-end job. So then it happens again when you have to work late at your job. And this time, no matter what you do, there's no fixing it. So even if things are perfect, it'll still be wrong. So if it's going to get physical, this is where it'll happen, but it doesn't need to. This is the yelling, screaming, degrading, threatening. This is the worst moment, right? This is when you grasp onto those good memories to help pull you through. And then it's back to the honeymoon phase again with all the apologies. I love you so much, I'll change. And you know he has the potential to change, to be good. And so you see that, and this cycle just happens over and over and over again. And before you can have a logical thought or chance to break out of it, you get thrown into another cycle, another phase of the cycle, right? So this cycle is, again, one of the hardest things to break out of. And you do so by understanding the cycle and reacting differently from how you usually react. We safety plan, we educate, we empower. We work with all of our victims of how to break that cycle of violence. Sometimes I get asked too, what's the difference between an abusive relationship and a non-abusive one? And really it's that you can argue without getting into personal attacking. So you can talk about an issue, you can argue with them without them demeaning you or attacking you. So, okay, does all of that make sense with the cycle of violence?
Yep.
Okay, so society versus reality. So we're gonna do kind of this little exercise, and you guys will probably have to come off of mute for a minute, but what are 3 to 5 things that we think of a woman, wife, and mother that stays in an abusive relationship, fights back, or leaves? So what do we say about her, like as a whole society? So not just you, but as a whole society, what do we think about a woman if she stays in an abusive relationship? What do we call her?
Weak.
Yep, weak, exactly. Maybe confused or submissive, selfish. She's a bad mom.
Some people might say like stupid for saying.
Yep, exactly. Yep. So what do we say if she fights back? What kind of person is she?
She's abusive.
Yep, abusive. What else? Psycho? Yep.
Yeah.
Crazy, dominating. There's a big B word that she is. A bitch, right?
People could say that she's a bad parent for fighting in front of their kids too.
Exactly. Yep. Bad mom again. Exactly. So what do we say if she leaves her marriage and breaks up her family? Because that's what we say as a society, right? That it's not just her leaving, it's she's breaking up her family.
Selfish.
Yep, selfish again.
You could also say like another thing for bad mom because she's taking her kid away.
Yep, bad mom, bad wife. What if she's
Abandoning her
religious?
kid. Oh.
We say she's a sinner or a cheater, right? So thank you. So here's what I know. If we as a society say this about her, she definitely thinks them about herself, right? So she thinks, I am a bad mom. I am selfish. I am weak. I am, all of these things. So if she stays in a relationship, the violence definitely goes up. Her chances of being arrested definitely go up, and it can affect the custody of her children and increase child abuse. If she fights back, the violence definitely goes up again. Her chances of arrest go up. 20 to 30% of all of our arrest calls that we get into Harbor House are from women being arrested for domestic violence. So we definitely get those calls. It happens because there's mandatory arrest laws in Wisconsin. It affects her custody, and it increases her chances of felony with a failure to protect your child if she fights back. And then if she leaves, her chances of custody go up. There's a 50-50 law in Wisconsin as well. So, and she has a 75% higher risk of being severely injured or killed. And this is where stalking starts. So the reason is that the guy is losing power and control. So it's a very dangerous time in the relationship when she leaves. It's that 75% risk of being severely injured or killed is a huge statistic. And it happens because there's nothing left for him to lose anymore, right? It's why we don't ever talk a woman into leaving. We surround her with services and support no matter where she's at, and work with her whatever stage of the cycle she's at, because leaving is definitely a process and you need a lot of safety planning to figure out how to do it. Any questions? Okay, so we are going to take a 5-minute break. It is 6:10, so I will see you guys back here at 6:15. Grab some water or whatever you need to do, and we'll be right back. Thank you. Okay, you guys back?
Yep.
All right. So, all right, so we're going to talk about violence, and the effects of violence on children. So we know whether or not you're trying to leave a relationship, having children makes it more complex. So domestic violence has a huge impact on children's lives. It can be lasting emotional, behavioral, physical, social, and cognitive effects. Emotional effects on children are guilt, so feeling responsible for the violence, shame, that only happens in their family, fear of expressing feelings to other and of the unknown, confusion that they have conflicted loyalties between mom and dad, anger. Anger is one of the scariest emotions for kids in domestic violence situations because they've never seen it acted out appropriately at home. So it can be really scary for them to feel angry. Powerlessness. So kids already don't have power just by being kids, and now they have a sense of powerlessness being in this situation. Grief over all the losses and disappointments, and burdened that they have sometimes inappropriate roles as a caretaker or parent. Behavioral effects. Kids might act out or withdraw, overachieve or underachieve, refuse to go to school, might again be caretaking of younger brothers or sisters or of mom, might be aggressive or passive, might have rigid defenses, attention-seeking behaviors, bedwetting nightmares, and trouble getting to sleep. So domestic violence happens in the one place where kids are supposed to feel safe, and it takes place between the child's caregivers who they love, trust, and depend on for all their needs. So children have a lot of behavioral effects. Children learn that there's no safe place, that adults can't protect themselves or their children, that a child must take on the responsibility of protecting the parent, that a child develops ambivalent feelings towards the abusive parent, and that chronic fear leads to aggression. Kids who grow up in violent homes say they feel powerless, confused, angry, guilty, sad, afraid, and alone. So, what can we do? We can allow children to be children. Children in domestic violence situations rarely get to have a chance to just be a child. So it's important that we allow them that time. Play with them, get down on their level. So one of the best things, especially my childcare volunteers, when working with kids, is to get down at their eye level. So you'll see a lot of adults get down on the floor when working with kids, right? Because you want to be at their eye level to equalize that power difference. Don't ask them to keep secrets, listen to them, give them boundaries. So rules help children feel safe. Most children living with domestic violence haven't had strong boundaries. So even like playing a board game that has rules built in is important to do with kids. And then put yourself in their shoes. Children who experience trauma are not trying to cause trouble or misbehave. They're flooded with fear, anxiety, and emotions they don't know how to express. Child sexual abuse. So this is the fun stuff. And I'm sorry I have to read all of this to you guys. So the abuse or mistreatment of children will not be tolerated at Harbor House or in its programs. Definitions of abuse are physical abuse, an injury that is intentionally inflicted upon a youth. Sexual abuse is any contact of a sexual nature that occurs between a youth and an adult or between two youths. This includes any activity which is meant to arouse or gratify the sexual desires of the adult or the other youth. And emotional abuse, so mental or emotional injury to a youth that results in an observable and material impairment in the youth's growth, development, or psychological functioning. So appropriate interactions with children or youth are side hugs, pats on the shoulder or back, handshakes, high fives, playing board games, volunteers. If you're doing childcare, you want to use the childcare room or playground. If there's 2 volunteers, then you can use the art room or teen room as long as there's 2 volunteers present. That's just because of cameras, so it's safe for you guys. Inappropriate interactions with children are kisses, showing affection in an isolated area, lap sitting, wrestling, piggyback rides, tickling, allowing a youth to cling to an employee or volunteer's leg, any type of massage given to or by a youth, any form of affection that's unwanted by the youth, compliments relating to body development or physique, changing of diapers or clothing. This should be done by the parent only. Let's see. You shouldn't hang out alone with a child in any room, like in the bedroom, or without having a room without windows or cameras. And then giving gifts or money. So Harbor House does gifts for kids like on their birthdays and Christmas and thank you gifts and stuff like that, but it shouldn't be from an individual. So for example, if you wanted to make a necklace with a kid in childcare, that's great. We have lots of activity kits. You can do that. You make the necklace together and then the kid can keep it, but you shouldn't be at home making a necklace and then bring it to the child as a gift. Does that make sense? Okay. Social media, texting, and visiting. So if volunteers or staff have previous connections on social media with a child or youth, let me know. You should not be entertaining children or youth in their homes, in your home. Volunteers shouldn't be texting children or youth. Volunteers should not send, accept, follow, whatever friend requests on personal social media accounts with children. Volunteers should not be alone with one child or teen in the car or vehicle, and volunteers are prohibited from sharing, collecting personal contact information with children or teens. So reporting child abuse. So Harbor House has, if you see something, say something policy. So what to report is any inappropriate interaction or contact between an adult or child or teen, and any interaction that may be inappropriate. So if you feel uncomfortable, report it. If an incident occurs, it should be reported as soon as possible, preferably within 24 hours of the incident. Reports involving volunteers should be made directly to the staff that's on site or me. And then I'll let our executive director know, but report to whatever staff is on site first or me, and then yeah. Okay, does anyone have any questions about child abuse reporting or effects of violence on children before we move into the last part? Okay, so volunteers as advocates. Vicarious trauma has a very long definition, which I will read to you, but it is the emotional residue of exposure that advocates or volunteers have from working with people as they're hearing their trauma stories and become witnesses to the pain, fear, and terror that trauma survivors have endured. So what I want you guys to know is that this work will affect you. Recognize that it's normal, you're not alone. You may feel outraged, horrified, shocked, saddened, or vulnerable. That is all normal. What to do about it is make sure to take care of yourself. Eat properly, get enough sleep, exercise, find things that make you laugh, stay in contact with important people in your life, spend time in nature, read, listen to music, do yoga. If you need more ideas, I have a million of them. But know that you'll see stuff here and that it might, shock you, and that's okay and that's normal. You can always talk to me about if you're feeling uncomfortable with something, or you're feeling however you're feeling, but let me know too, because it is definitely hard work to be a volunteer. Our confidentiality policy is that we can't confirm or deny that a client is here. So we literally say those words, we can't confirm or deny. So if you run into a client outside of Harbor House, you can't go up to them because you don't know who they're with. You don't want to jeopardize them or out them. But if they come up to you, you can talk. You just can't go to them. And you can't tell anyone outside of Harbor House about any of the clients here. So even your best friend or mom or dad or spouse, like it's just here, that stays confidential, that the clients are here. You can tell people what you do here. You can tell them, you know, that you're a volunteer. You can tell them hypothetical things. You just can't give them any client specific stuff. Does that make sense? Yes, yes. Okay. Volunteer policies. So you guys are all in the volunteer process. First you applied, we had our little meet and greet, then you go to training, and then lastly, I run a background check on those of you that are 18 and older. So after this call tonight, or after this Zoom tonight, I will call hold on, Nikki and Aurora. I will call both of you guys because you're over 18. So I will call and get your social security number. The call will come in from Harbor House as a blocked number because that's how all of our calls come through. So it's just me calling. And I just am getting your social security number to run the background check. I like to do it over the phone. That way it's not anything that I have to write down and or go over the internet with or anything like that. So yeah. So once the background checks have come back and you're set to go, it takes like 5 minutes for a background check, so it's really fast to do. I will let you know when you've passed it. I'll run those tomorrow. I'll let you know when you've passed it, and then you're able to start. And then Lucky and Jasmine, you are able to start as soon as this training is over. So I will send all of you information tomorrow about what the process is to get started with childcare and front desk. Those of you doing childcare, I'll send you the childcare schedule and how to sign up for childcare shifts, that kind of thing. And then those of you doing front desk, I will schedule a time with you to come in for your first training. It's two 2-hour training sessions for front desk. So I'll just schedule that personally with you, and then we'll go from there. So look for my emails tomorrow. And it'll probably be late afternoon tomorrow when I'm getting those out to you, because I have a group in to volunteer till like 4:30 tomorrow. So look for emails after that time. So dress code, we don't really have a dress code here. We try to mimic what our clients wear. So jeans, leggings, sweatpants, whatever is fine. Just nothing like outrageously like crazy. Or like dirty or things like that. When you come into the building, you will sign in on an iPad at our front desk. So when you come into Harbor House, you can park anywhere in our parking lot. There's also parking across the street for short-term parking. But if you park in the parking lot, you'll just walk around to the front door to be buzzed in. And so once you're inside the front door, will have you sign in, and you'll sign in on the iPad. And the first time you sign in, it's kind of a pain because it takes forever. Well, it takes like 5 minutes, but still. You have to put your name and email in, get your picture taken. No one sees that picture except me, so don't worry. And then it asks you what area you're volunteering in, so front desk, childcare, whatever. And then you say that you're here to see me, always, every time you come in. And then it prints out a name tag. And so while you're here, you wear a name tag. Then from then on out, to sign in and out, you can use your name tag to scan in on the iPad, which is to scan in and out, which is a lot easier then. So keep your name tag. We have a little box at the front desk that we keep all name tags in. So we keep your name tag, and then you just use it each time you come in. Interactions with clients. So all of our clients are dealing with trauma. So make sure you pause before you react. We want to treat everyone with respect and without judgment. Conflict resolution. If you have a problem with anything, please come to me. If it is a problem with me, my supervisor's name is Cassie. Our executive director's name is Amber. They're both really great too. So feel free to go to any of them or any of us with problems going on. Attendance and scheduling are, so if you are sick or you can't make it or something has come up last minute, just let me know as soon as you know. Send me an email. I'm really responsive on email, even on the weekends, stuff like that. So if you can't make it or you're sick, whatever, just email me, let me know, and I will try to find a substitute or just see you the following week. If you have, like, if it's a front desk shift, I'll just say, you know, like, oh, I'll see you the following week, and that's fine. If it's childcare and I know early enough, I'll try to find a sub. If not, we'll just cancel childcare for that night. So no big deal. Just let me know when you know if something comes up. So so that is it. Does anyone have any questions for me? You guys are all silent, so I'm assuming we're good.
No questions.
Okay. All right. So that's it. Thank you for sitting through this. We are done, oh, really early tonight. I talked way too fast. I'm sorry. So I will call Nikki and Aurora. I will call you after this to get your social security numbers. And then yeah, that's it. So thank you guys and have a great night, and look for emails from me tomorrow.
Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Bye.
Bye.